We didn't start with power. We started with silence. Not the kind that hides, the kind that survives. In the sun-scorched hills of Sicily, long before the world knew our name, we were just sons of farmers, fishermen, shepherds, born into a system that never protected us. The state was a ghost. The law, bought and sold. If you wanted justice, you had to find your own. So we built something older than law, a code. Respect, loyalty, blood, and above all, omerta, the vow of silence. We didn't call it a mafia. We called it Cosa Nostra, our thing. It was ours because no one else cared. And in that forgotten place, we became something afraid. Not because we wanted to, but because we had to. A man needs protection? We gave it. Someone crossed the line. We handled it. No courts. No appeals. Just rules. At first, it was an honor. Then it became business. And when the world changed, when war came, when hunger grew, our thing traveled. Across the ocean. To America. We didn't arrive as kings. We arrived as nobody. Immigrants. Laborers. Men with no money, no names, no voice. But we brought something more powerful than guns or gold. We brought structure. Discipline. Fear. In New York, we weren't just surviving, we were building. Street by street. Union by union. We moved through the cracks, where politics ended and desperation began. People need help. We gave it. For a price. And that price built empires. Then came Prohibition. The government tried to ban alcohol and handed us the greatest gift in history. While others poured drinks in the dark, we ran fleets. While others sold bottles, we built pipelines. We made millions before we turned 30. And those millions? They bought silence. They bought mayors, judges, whole cities. By the 1930s, we weren't just criminals. We were an institution. 5 families. 1 commission. 0 hesitation. We kept the peace with violence. We balanced greed with order. And for decades, we made the rules in cities that forgot who really owned the streets. But power, it never comes without cost. We trusted blood, but blood can betray. The FBI was watching. The world was changing. Cameras, wires, informants. We used to disappear people. Now, they disappeared us. One by one. RICO charges, life sentences, rats in suits. And the silence we once held sacred, it cracked. Still, they never erased us. Because we weren't just a group. We were an idea. We were the reminder that when the system fails people long enough, someone else will take its place. That structure can rise even in the shadows. That loyalty can be more powerful than law. And fear. Fear can build empires no crown could hold. We're not here to glorify what we did. We're here to tell you the truth. The Mafia didn't start in blood. It began in absence, the absence of justice. And when you leave people with no voice, no safety, no way out, they don't ask for permission. They make their own way. We didn't ask for power. But once we held it, we made the world remember our name. We didn't have titles, but we held the keys. New York, Chicago, Las Vegas. These weren't just cities on a map. They were our playing fields. The government thought they ran them. But the real power? It flowed through back rooms, cash envelopes, and men who never showed their faces. We weren't just criminals. We were organizers, strategists, architects of the underground. In New York, we built the 5 families: Luciano, Genovese, Gambino, Colombo, Bonanno. We didn't fight each other. We shared territory, shared profits, shared silence. That was the genius. No chaos. No wars. Just business. In Chicago, Al Capone rewrote the rules. He wasn't a boss. He was a symbol of how fast you could rise when fear worked faster than politics. While the newspapers screamed, while the feds chased headlines, we moved money, liquor, loyalty. Capone wasn't the only one, just the loudest. Behind him were thousands: soldiers, drivers, bookkeepers, judges on the payroll. They called us thugs. But we were running payrolls bigger than corporations. We owned the ports. We ran the docks. We settled labor strikes with a phone call or a bullet. We built unions, and if someone didn't play along, they didn't play again. Garbage collection, trucking, construction, every deal came through us. Because we didn't just threaten. We delivered. And then came Vegas. An empty desert? Not for us. It was an opportunity. We didn't just build casinos, we built systems. Cash in, skim off the top, send the rest back east. Politicians turned their heads. Cops got promotions. Everyone won. except the few who asked too many questions. For decades, the Mafia didn't just touch American life, it infiltrated it. Weddings, churches, unions, Hollywood, even the White House whispered our name. We became the invisible layer beneath America's surface. Not seen, but deeply felt. But every empire has its cracks, and we ignored ours. We thought the code would hold. We thought fear would last forever. But the next war wasn't with rivals, it was with the state. And this time, they were learning. They bugged our homes. They followed our cars. They flipped our own men against us. They created laws designed for us. Laws that turned loyalty into life sentences. RICO. One word. And suddenly, conversations turned into confessions. Families fell. Cities shifted. And the silence we built for generations began to shatter. But even as the headlines declared us finished, they missed the point. We never needed a stage. We thrived in the shadows. We thought loyalty was unbreakable. We thought blood ran thicker than fear. But even the strongest codes can crack. And when they do, the world sees everything in a new light. The 1970s and 80s weren't just decades. They were the reckoning. Feds got smarter. They stopped chasing bodies and started chasing words. Wiretaps, surveillance, undercover agents, tools we never imagined would pierce our walls. And then, the unthinkable happened. One of us started to talk. Joe the Rat. Valachi broke the code of Omerta in 1963, the first to open the door. But it was only the beginning. Soon, others followed, willing to betray the Brotherhood to save their skin, their lives, or just to see the sun again. The Mafia had thrived on silence for generations, but that silence shattered like glass. Families turned inward, paranoia took hold, and alliances crumbled. Brothers became enemies. Trust became a commodity too expensive to buy. The government used every weapon they had. The RICO Act, long prison sentences, witness protection programs. They turned our own loyalty against us, because when your own fears your secrets, the empire begins to fall. And fall it did. One by one, legends fell from grace. Bosses who once controlled cities sat behind bars. Castles in the air crumbled into dust. But here's the truth they don't always tell you. The Mafia didn't die. It changed. We adapted, smaller cells, less visible, more strategic. New businesses, new territories. The old-school crime families became ghosts, but the spirit? That's still alive, lurking in the shadows of modern power. Because power is a shapeshifter. It moves where control is weak, where fear can still be wielded. We didn't invent crime. We invented order where there was chaos. We didn't ask for permission. We took what we needed. We built a world unseen, and for a long time, unstoppable. And maybe that's the lesson. When people are left unheard, unprotected, and desperate, something will rise to fill that void. Whether it's a brotherhood in the shadows or a voice in the streets, the hunger for power and survival never dies. So this is our story, not just of crime, not just of violence, but of how silence can rule, how loyalty can bind, and how from the darkest places, empires can be built and rebuilt. We didn't ask to be legends. We just survived. Our story isn't just about crime or violence. It's about what happens when systems fail people. When justice is absent, fear fills the void, and silence becomes a language of survival. The Italian Mafia didn't build its empire in boardrooms or parliaments. It built it in the shadows, where loyalty was law, and power was earned with blood and silence. Today, the Mafia is not what it once was, but its legacy remains, in stories told around the world, in warnings whispered across generations, in the reality that control often comes not from the brightest lights, but from the darkest corners. This is a story of survival, of resilience, of a code written not on paper, but in the hearts of those who dared to take control, when no one else would. And as long as there are those left unheard, those left unprotected, and those left desperate, there will always be those ready to rise in the shadows, ready to build empires no crown could hold.